So here we are in Princeton,
New Jersey,
with Mike. Mike, I didn't catch your last name.
Jarzina.
And this is Mike. And Mike has an amazing 300D. And I'll show that later in the video. But right now, Mike, you were taking me through all this documentation.
Yeah, so the story on this car is that it was purchased new in Dallas. And we have the window sticker and we have the delivery checklist and whatnot. And as far as I can tell, it was driven by a woman for 6 or 8 years or so. And we have all the documentation. She put a tremendous amount of money into this car.
Yeah, this is incredible.
And I don't know if in the late 80s or early 90s she sold it to a family member or something, because you'll see in here that the names kind of change, but not really. Anyway, so
like same last name but different change.
Right. So
gotcha.
So what you'll find then is that that woman had the car until approximately 2009 or so, and apparently then she died. 2010, 2011. It was somewhere in that time period. So we actually have in here the trust documents.
Oh, cool.
With the car. And so at that point in time, the car was sold as part of the estate, and a fella who was an ex-Mercedes mechanic picked it up. And he actually just kind of played with it. He's not a mechanic any longer. He actually owns, and I'll give you his name if you want to reach on out to him, because it'd be interesting. He remembers this car. Really, really great guy. Anyway, so he had it for several years. That's where all of the other parts came from, and then he eventually sold it on eBay. And I bought it in 2017.
You said all the other parts. That's because you showed me upstairs. There's a whole box of parts. We saw injectors, vacuum pods. We saw all kinds of extra parts.
Brake pads.
Emblems.
Emblems, yeah.
All kinds of stuff. This guy just gave you.
And he just kind of gave me all.
What was this you were showing me here? These two pieces of paper? It was the original...
Yeah, so this is the original new car pre-delivery inspection.
Okay, yeah. Dallas, Texas. So that's when the dealer...
326.85.
That's really cool.
Right, and then this is kind of faded and whatnot, but this is the original window sticker, and what you can
Very
barely
nice.
make it out. $31,940.
So what, about 90 grand today?
Something like that. And I actually had an '85 Cadillac Eldorado.
Okay.
And this was $10,000 more than that was new, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, this is great, and all the service records. I'm sure there's dates on all these guys. I can go through all this later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go. May of '85, and they're in a binder and they're in order. So the lady that had this was incredibly meticulous.
My guess is that my guess is that this came from the dealership, but who knows, right?
Yeah, and then there's a whole nother stack.
Yeah. So this.
Wow, man, this car was really cared for.
Yeah.
Let's get some of this. Park Place Motor Cars. Okay, still in Dallas, Texas. Still 1985. What they have done here?
Right, so this is actually not long before I bought it. So it had 80,000 miles then, and what is the date on this?
This is 85. Oh, that's the year of the car.
Right.
Okay. Trying to find the date stamp on the page. I don't know where it is. So this is more recent, though.
Yeah, so this is more recent.
Because you bought the car with 80,000 miles on it.
85.
And now it has 112. So this is a low mileage example.
There's got to be a date on it.
Very cool.
Oh, October 05.
Okay. Gosh, that's still a few years back. Well, that's really neat. I'm going to go through all these. And we got the first aid kit. We got the original radio there. There's a whole box of parts upstairs. And anyway, Mike, I appreciate it, man. This is really awesome. Thank you for selling me the car.
Oh, I'm happy to do so. I'm happy that it's going to a home that's going to take care of it, because it is it's a wonderful, wonderful car. I just, life gets in the way sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You know. So.
And guys, we'll I'll get it back to the shop. We'll unload it, do a walk around, and I'll show it to you guys. All right, guys, here is a new series I'm starting on this 1985 300D. And I literally just washed this thing, and we're in Georgia. Like, I washed this 30 minutes ago. And look at the amount of pollen. It is the end of March in Georgia, and like the car is immediately covered with pollen again. So I literally just washed it. But anyway, let's look at this thing. This is a beautiful car, 112,000 miles. Just doing the initial inspection. I've already started some minor work on it. I went ahead and removed the seats so I could get in here and clean really well. You can see I've got my crate so I can drive it around. But I removed the seats, and because I want to go in here and vacuum and clean under the seats. And you can see it's got a good dash. 112,000 miles, and this one came with 2 radios and a ton of original documentation. Yeah, this is documents all the way back to day 1, fully documented, which is nice. And so, like I said, I'm just starting the cleaning process, and I've got the seats out, and I have the air cleaner and battery tray out because I wanted to inspect for any rust issues. Let me go show you guys the seats. They're actually over here. Seats are beautiful. Fantastic seats. The cushions are still in excellent condition. MB Tex, there's no rips or tears. Absolutely beautiful. There's actually a driver's seat, sorry. There you go. It's got some just junk on it from my shop. I'm not sure what that is. Get off of there. But yeah, beautiful seats, no rips, no tears. Outstanding condition. So what I'm doing now, I've just started the process, like I said. Now, I've got the air cleaner housing off, and I saw where the paint and a couple of little spots started to rust on the air cleaner housing. So I've sanded those down and cleaned this up in the parts washer. So I'm going to repaint this, the factory semi-gloss. And here we go. Here's the battery tray. I inspected that, and it is not rusted through. It is still intact. Has a little bit of surface rust right here, right here. You can see just a little. So this is good. It's a good battery tray. Hasn't rusted through. So I'm going to clean this up in the parts washer and then respray that and treat it and put that back to original. And let's pop the hood here. This engine, they put a lot of cosmoline on it from the factory. I guess the owner might have requested that. All right, I need to clean up the engine, and looks like, well, there's 2 things I noticed. A ton of cosmoline on the engine. See all the yellow cosmoline they sprayed on here from the factory? The cadmium plating is still here, but you know, I don't like that too much. It doesn't look good on this engine, so I want to clean this up in the parts washer. And yeah, see, it got all over the injection pump. I don't know why they did that. I mean, that stuff just scrapes off. It's like a, here, I'll show you. It's like a waxy protective substance they spray on the engines, or they spray on the cars. And I think you could have requested it sprayed, but this one's got it all over the engine. So I want to get that off of there. And then a previous mechanic appears to, you know, they maintained the car. They went and changed all the vacuum line fittings, but they used red and blue. So I want to go put black lines back in there because that looks terrible. I mean, it functions fine, but it's not factory correct. Yeah, they got cosmoline all over this thing. So anyway, I'm gonna get that off. We'll detail the engine compartment. And I was inspecting back here. I'll remove the battery tray. There's a leaf. And that's good. There's absolutely no rust back here. And that looks like a piece of old hood pad. And also all the drains are clear. When I washed it, I ran water through the drain, so that's good. And this is solid. Nothing has started rusting back here. So I'm going to clean that up, and we'll take apart the valve cover, throttle linkage. I'm going to put all this through the parts washer to clean this up really nice. And then we'll go ahead and treat the battery tray and repaint the air cleaner lid over there. So let's get started on that. Okay, we're done cleaning the air filter housing and the lid, and we've repainted these back to factory original color. Here we go. That looks very nice. That's what they looked like from the factory. And we've cleaned up our filter housing, which looks very good. And we sanded and treated and painted the battery tray. So this is never going to rust through. We got it just in time. You see some surface rust started to appear, but that is a fully intact tray in good condition. See, it hasn't rusted through, just some surface rust started to appear, so I've treated that. So next thing we need to do, man, look at the pollen on this car. I just had it outside for a couple of days. This is how bad it is in Georgia. Look at that pollen. That's ridiculous. So next thing I want to do is move this into the shop and remove the valve cover and clean that up. All right, I've put on some rust preventing paint. You can see it's still wet, and I covered those are the common areas, so that will be good for another 30 years and will never rust through. All right, guys, we finally got a chance to get this black 85 300D in the shop, and everything is covered in pollen. It's springtime here in Georgia. Well, it's springtime everywhere, but here in Georgia, the pollen is outrageous for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So it's a black car in Georgia is definitely a challenge to keep clean. So first I'm going to get all these C-clips, or these are actually E-clips, off the throttle linkage, and we're going to disassemble all this. And that'll also give us an opportunity to do a valve adjustment. These little clips are everywhere. Back here, there's a cotter pin that holds that throttle linkage in. So go ahead and get that off. And then we want to get and these all need to be lubricated and cleaned up, you know, normal top end engine stuff. So let me get a screwdriver to pop all these linkages off. And guys, to do that, you want a pretty big screwdriver. See how big the tip of that is? That allows you stick it under there, and then you can just twist it, and it will pop off of there. We're just going to get all of this linkage off of here, because it is gunky. We need all that cleaned up in the parts washer. Take the Bowden cable off here. Yeah, this is gunky. Somebody, when they service this, put grease on there, and that's not the way to do it. You want to use automatic transmission fluid, because grease just gets gummy and attracts dirt and grime very easily and messes and gets everything sticky and gummy. So we're going to use automatic transmission fluid when we put everything back together. All right. So So that's our cruise control linkage there. Let's get this off of here. Here we go. I've got a cart behind me. Now, where I'm putting everything. This is your, this switch right here. When your throttle goes to full position, that switch deactivates your AC. So it temporarily turns off the compressor so you can have full power. Pretty cool little feature. So we'll go ahead and unplug that. Get that over here. This is a common mistake I see mechanics make. Okay. See this right here? This is where the Bowden cable attaches to. Now, right here is a little bitty tab. So when you give it when you give it throttle, that tab catches on the Bowden cable linkage or lever right here. I've seen a lot of guys put this back on the wrong side of that tab, like that, and see, it doesn't pull your Bowden cable and the car won't shift right. And they'll be tracing down all kinds of issues with the shifter, the vacuum system, the vacuum modulator, adjusting the transmission, and it's because they put this linkage on incorrectly. So when you put it back on, it has to go on the other side of that tab. Now there's one more C-clip over here. There we go. And now there's a C-clip also right here. Got to pop that guy off. And underneath this, we're going to find a spring-loaded. This is the spring, basically the throttle return spring is under here. You can actually see part of it sticking up right there. So you can disconnect it right. There it is. All right, so that's disconnected. And we're going to keep the spring. There we go. Yeah, there is the little, yeah, see how, there you go. There's the top of the spring right there where it hooks on. And then underneath there's another hook. And that other hook connects like right in this area, right there. And so when this turns, that spring lets it spring back when you let your foot off the throttle. But yeah, see, so this, whoever serviced this last, they were trying, but see how they use this grease everywhere? And that is the wrong stuff to service this engine with. That'll just gum up and make everything goopy and sticky. See, it's all down inside the linkages, which is better than not having anything, but it makes things where they do not move smoothly. And automatic transmission fluid is the best thing to use. All right, and we're going to take off this last piece here. There we go. Now, this piece right here, there you go. See that little bushing here? That's a little wheel that is supposed to spin. See how that is on there? And that is the part. There you go. It rides inside here when you press full throttle. And Mercedes in the service manual specifically says, do not lubricate this part. And you can see, there we go, there is gunk all over here. So like I said, the previous mechanic was trying, but they're not doing it right. So we're going to clean all this up. Linkage bolts. There we go. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this valve cover off of here. goes. What's hanging us up here? Something's hanging us right up here. There it goes. All right. Yeah, look at that thing. That's filthy. See all that waxy cosmoline that's sprayed all over it? So let's get this in the parts washer. Get this thing cleaned up real nice. Oh, those cam lobes look really good. There's no excessive wear. Those look really nice. Engine looks super nice down here, just super dirty valve cover. Check the timing chain. Yep, there's no stretch. And the timing chain, that's tight. Feels really good. Looks really clean in here. So I'll do it and we'll do a valve adjustment on this thing too. But in the meantime, let's get this valve cover cleaned up. Linkage we just took off. And there's that filthy valve cover. All right, we're going to do a little before and after video. Let's get this thing in the parts washer. We're going to use a combination of some steel wool. Dude, that stuff works good. And Scotch-Brite. And parts washing solvent. Get this oil cap off of here. To get all this gunk off of here. I guess we'll start with the oil. That parts washing solvent works wonders. Look at that. All right, there we go. Here's the after. You guys saw the before. And this is what a valve cover is supposed to look like. There we go. That's what they looked like from the factory. Much better. Let's get this thing back on the car. Well, next we're going to go ahead and clean up the linkages. Now I'm cleaning up the linkage because you can see the zinc or the cadmium or zinc plating. It's still on here, and so I'm trying to brush it lightly just to remove some dirt and debris. You don't want to be too forceful doing this because you'll rub off the zinc plating. But I just use a nylon brush. And if you scrub too hard, it comes off. So I just try to knock off the big pieces of dirt and debris. And it's not going to look, 100% clean, but you can see. I mean, that's a pretty good result there. I'm not going to brush that anymore. So I'm happy with how that turned out. All right, we've got everything cleaned up. I was really happy how this one came out, especially. I was able to save a lot of that zinc coating. I'm sorry, it's cadmium plating. Could be a zinc dichromate. I'm not sure what Mercedes used. I'm pretty sure it's cadmium. That came out pretty good. A lot of this, that part, we were able to save a lot of it on that one. This one I didn't want to scrub too hard. But these came out really nice, the throttle linkages. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick valve adjustment before I put everything back together. Go ahead and do a quick valve adjustment on the car and then get this all this linkage reinstalled. All right, guys, I've got the car up on the lift because I'm going underneath here with an 1 1/8" socket and rotating the crank. So right now I'm going to be starting on the intake right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do a valve adjustment. I'm not going to record this. You guys have seen tons of valve adjustments in my videos, and it's very time consuming to record it. So let me go ahead and knock this out, and then we'll put the throttle linkage back on the car. Okay, got all the valves adjusted, and as expected, they were tight. They haven't been adjusted in a while, so now they're all back in spec. 0.35 on the exhaust and 0.010 millimeters, basically 4 thousandths and 14 thousandths on the exhaust and intake. Intake is 4 thousandths. And I've got a new valve cover gasket on our cleaned up valve cover. So let's try to get this thing back on the engine now. All right, got the valve cover back on and got my dirty fingerprints all over our clean valve cover. But now you want to check to make sure the gasket did not pop loose or bind anywhere when you were installing the valve cover. Sometimes it'll pop off, and if you don't catch it, you'll have a terrible oil leak when you fire the car back up. And keep in mind, guys, this is aluminum. So again, the torque on these is only like 10 foot-pounds. I think that's like 14 or 15 Newton meters. That's it. That's all. You don't need to crank that down there. All right, and let's connect up our switch here that disables the, this is the switch that disables the AC under full throttle. So first I'm going to go ahead and lubricate all these posts really good. Doesn't matter if it gets everywhere, you just want it lubricated really well. First thing that we're going to throw on here is our throttle linkage. And I'm actually going to lubricate down inside there also. Here we're going to grab our return spring. And clip it down around there. Let me get this out of the way. There we go. There we go. Okay, I just put a small C-clip right here to hold down our main spring return linkage here. And on top of that goes your Bowden cable lever. And you can see on the back of it, let's see, there's a little recess in here for that C-clip to fit inside there. So we'll go ahead and get some transmission fluid on that. And it fits right there. And now we need to get another C-clip on top of there. Actually, these are called E-clips, you guys. And you can order them. If you ever drop one, you can order like an assortment of them. Stainless steel off of Amazon. There we go. Oh, that's nice. Now we need to put another E-clip right there. And notice I did not lubricate this little nylon wheel right here. Mercedes says not to lubricate that. And now we need another E-clip right here for the cruise control linkage. Very nice. Okay, now our main throttle linkage, which goes back through here. This piece came out really nice. The cadmium plating on that. And this goes back here and plugs into our bushing back here. You always want to check this to make sure that bushing is in good shape. And I can feel this one is in good shape. All right. Now we're going to stick our we want to stick this linkage on here first. Slide it all the way back. Stick it through there. Slide it all the way forward. Now I want to lubricate that. There we go. Get our cotter pin back there. That holds that in place. There we go. And we have our injection pump linkage right here, which I want to clean that out a little bit with some brake cleaner. There we go. And we'll do a little squirt of transmission fluid on there and in the ball. You can use a set of channel locks to easily pop them back on there. There's actually another C-clip I need to grab that goes on the tip of that one. There's another little C-clip that goes on the end of here. Sometimes this one can be tricky to get on there. There we go. I keep calling them C-clips, but they're E-clips. You get this strange clip here that goes on the end of the main throttle linkage shaft. This main shaft here. There it goes. All right. Now we need to start reattaching our linkage, and I forgot to clean this one in the parts washer. This is the cruise control linkage, so let me go get this cleaned up in the parts washer. Okay, got that one cleaned up in the parts washer. Yeah, you can see me down at the bottom of the frame. We'll drop some lubrication there. And some in there. And we'll drop some in there. Here we go. Oh, so nice. When this stuff is cleaned up and lubricated, it works so good. Such an awesome design. Get everything lubricated. There we go. There we go. Guys, that is perfect. Now, this return line is actually supposed to run underneath here and clip into there. But whoever previously installed those, ran it behind it. That's going to be fine. I'll probably pop that off and run it underneath there like it's supposed to be. But for now, we're okay. And let's go ahead and put our Bowden cable back through here. That is a cleaned up and fully serviced top end. Way better than it was before. And watch how smooth everything moves. That's perfectly adjusted and lubricated. So let's go ahead and get our air cleaner back on here. We refinished that, and then we're done with the top end, the valve adjustment, and cleanup here. Beautiful. All right. All right, and let's go back here and put our battery hold down clips down. I don't think you guys can see that from back there. But there's two 10mm bolts. There are nuts that, there's studs here, and there's two 10mm nuts that hold your battery in. All right, what y'all just saw was about a full day's worth of work. I actually did it over 2 days because I had some other stuff I was doing. But that is the complete top end of the engine service. Everything's been cleaned in the parts washer, disassembled, lubricated, valve adjustment, new valve cover gasket, air cleaner housing, bushings, refinished the air cleaner housing, put everything back on the car, and yeah, I think that's everything we did. But what a difference. Look at that. Look how cleaning it up makes a huge difference. See, all that cadmium plating is still there. Looks beautiful. Look at the new freshly refinished air cleaner housing. Looks absolutely fantastic. And that throttle linkage is fully serviced and as smooth as can be. So that's how you do it, guys. You can we'll splice in a before and after picture of the engine. But that's a 110,000 mile motor, so that's why it looks so nice. Just had to do a little cleaning, a little elbow grease. So I still want to go back and change all these red fittings and put the black ones on there, because to me that looks funny. There's a blue fitting there too. So I want to go put the correct black fittings on there. But we'll save that for another day. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this part of the series, and there'll be several more videos of this car. I'm going to start on the interior next, vacuum, clean it all out, put the seats back in, because the seats are right over here. I showed them earlier in the video. Amazing condition. There's the seats right there. But I'm going to go in here and completely clean and detail the interior, make sure everything's functioning. Then we'll get up on the lift. We'll look at suspension, go through all the suspension, do all the fluid changes, you know, the normal process I go through. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Check that out.